Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another kick-ass show of Command Your Confidence. I'm joined today by Come On Man Podcast. How you doing today, buddy?
Dude, I'm living the dream, bro. Living the dream.
Yeah, cool. Tell me more about this dream that you're living.
Oh man, I just realized that I had the show going here on the side. Dude,
Oh,
it's funny. One of the things that I teach on my channel is this idea of like the law of attraction, right? And
mhm.
um a lot of people sort of look at it like it's this woo-woo thing, but like it works so well in my life that I just can't deny that it's a legit thing. One of the things that I put out is I was like, people are going to be inviting you on podcasts all the time. People invite you on podcasts all the time. And so that actually happens. I get invited on all these shows on top of trying to make my own content, and it's just like a whirlwind of like streaming and stuff. And I was
Mhm.
like, I love it though. I absolutely love it.
No, that's awesome. No, I totally agree with you. Like, if your mindset, like, you got to have the right mindset to attract what you want. Because in order to like get what you want, you have to have the right frame of mind. Because if you have the right frame of mind, and just conjure it up in your head, you'll actually take the time to figure out how to get shit done and overcome obstacles. You know what I'm saying? It's not, no, that's really true, man. I highly agree in like the law of attraction.
Yeah. So I mean, like, so I have a whole course on it, and but the thing is, a lot of people look at it like it's this mystical, magical thinking, or Rollo Tomasi calls it the power of positivity grift. And I think it's funny, but when you think about it from a psychological perspective, it's really a matter of your reticular activating system and focusing on what you want so much that your subconscious mind it's like a supercomputer, and it's if you convince your subconscious mind that this is a reality for you, it will figure out just night and day how to make it a reality for you. And
Mhm.
so it's not magic at all, if you break it down that way.
Right, exactly. I know you, and that's what I think that's what you got to do if you want to get anywhere in life. You have to convince yourself that you're capable of doing it, because that's going to help you deal with all the frustration and stuff that comes up. Because things don't just happen right away. There's work that needs to be done. There's learning that needs to be done to make that shit happen.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, but yeah, today we want to kind of talk about, like, should men blame women for their dating problems? Because you hear a lot, there's a lot of content out there that says, yeah, blame women for your dating problems, and everyone's like, well, no, look, blame yourself for it. So I just wanted to kind of like talk about the two of those and get kind of shoot some ideas back and forth. So I'll let you start out. So what do you think about that? Should men blame?
Women, am I right? Like, just women. No, I think the problem, I'm a big proponent of a book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink.
Oh, okay, yep, I remember that book. I had read
And
that a long time ago.
and really, it's like, man, when you put the blame, a lot of people like to play the blame game, right? They like to point the finger at external problems and be like, well, I could have a good relationship if it wasn't for these women. But they never look at themselves. They never look at what they're doing that's wrong. They never look at their past relationships and realize that they're the common denominator in all of their failed relationships. And they never take any self accountability, right? We always got to hold all these women accountable, but we never hold ourselves accountable. And
Right,
I think that's the
exactly.
biggest problem. So I don't like the idea of blaming women for the shitty dating market, right? Yet
Mhm.
there's shitty people out there. There's not it's
Yeah,
just
there is shitty people, yeah,
it's
there's
not just the
shitty
women.
guys out there and shitty girls, so, it balances itself out, but no, I totally agree. Like, I think, people do have to take ownership, like, instead of, I think a lot of people just, they don't wanna, like, look at themselves as a source of the problem. They just wanna make it easy and just, like, blame other people for their
Mhm.
problems, just so they don't have to actually get up there and do the work. And I think that's like a problem, because then if other guys will come, create content, on YouTube or wherever. I mean, even women will do it too, where they'll blame guys for and they fail to like look at themselves as the problem. And then some people who come across that content actually take it as true value, if you know what I'm talking about. And then that kind of forces that negative mindset and habit on them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I really try to instill in guys that tune into my content is that yeah, there are shitty women out there. There are, just absolutely horrible women out there. Yes. No one's denying that. But the thing is, like, you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. And so
Mhm.
if you do change yourself for the better, you'll learn how to filter out the bad women, and you'll learn how to be more consciously aware of the good women that are around you you know
Mhm. Right,
but a lot of
exactly.
but going back to the law of attraction thing, a lot of guys are focused on what they don't want. They don't want the girls that are on Fresh and Fit. Well, you know what? No one does. So stop focusing on those women.
Yeah.
Focus, like, what a lot of guys don't do too. And this was something I'd never even thought of, because most guys, like, their dating experience and their relationships just like happen to them. But most guys don't sit down and actually write out a list of the qualities they want in in a woman, like in a good woman that, they could see themselves with in some kind of, capacity, whether
Mhm.
it's long term or whatever. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, they say, right? So if you
Right,
sit down
exactly.
and actually write out, like, okay, these are all the qualities I want in a woman, and you could also write down the qualities you don't want. It's usually the opposite of what you do want. But if you really focus on the stuff that you do want, you'll start seeing it everywhere. You'll start seeing
Mhm.
the women that check those boxes when you go out,
Mhm.
and you'll know right away too when chicks don't check those boxes, to cut them loose and not waste your time with them. It's just more of an intentional way of dating.
Right, exactly. Well, and I think too, to add on to the law of attraction, I think as you go out there and date women too, you kind of see like, well, which ones you're gonna, what type of women you want to eventually have a relationship or just date in general, because you'll have your good experiences and your bad experiences, and when you
Mhm.
have good experiences, you meet quality women out there. I think that's gonna like say, well, hey, this is kind of what I want, and I think but you can actually, yeah, you can have that I like that whole law of attraction thing too, but I think too I've learned the best way too, just by going out there and just meeting, going on a bunch of dates and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing that I try to teach guys too, is that this idea of spinning plates, because some guys are so averse to spinning plates. They're like, well, I'm cheating on these women, and it's like, for one, no, you're not. You're not really cheating unless you sort of agree that you're in some kind of exclusive relationship, right?
Hmm.
And typically that's how women date. Like, women naturally are plate spinners. Like, I always say, like, we call it spinning plates. Women just call it dating. But
Hmm.
because they're doing the same thing, that and you don't have to sleep with every woman that you go out on a date with, and most women aren't sleeping with every guy they're going out with. And
Hmm.
what you really want to do is weigh your options, and really just see what's out there. And if you're doing one woman at a time, and you're going all in, and you're investing weeks and months into one girl, and then it fizzles out, and then you got to start all over again, you're wasting so much more time as with when you're dating, like, three or four girls at the same time, and then you're sort of vetting them all at once. Like, it's just a
Hmm.
much more efficient way of getting to the right person in a
Right.
quicker way. Yeah.
Right, I hear you. Because if you're just focusing on one person rather than just on multiple people, like, I mean, if that fizzles out with that one person, you're like, yeah, you got to start all over again, and you're kind of dry and shit. Whereas if you are continuing to go and meet women while you're, with someone, and just seeing where that goes. I mean, you're still working on your game yourself, keeping up with your skill set and stuff like that. No, I'm a huge fan of that. That's always like something that I've done, even when I've had my long-term, girls on the side, if you know what I'm talking about. Because like, I just think, nothing good like lasts forever. That's my motto when it comes to things. So that's why I like to just kind of keep on going. It's true though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of guys in the space, especially the red pill space. They sort of think like, you're not red pill unless you have a main chick and a bunch of side chicks, or you just never have a main chick, and you just are a permanent plate spinner. That's not true at all. Really, it just comes down to what you want. there's a lot of guys in the space, especially all the guys on Rule Zero. Like all the guys on Rule Zero have like long-term relationships. I think Thor might be the only one that actually has side chicks, you know.
Mhm. Probably.
But it's well, no,
He's married
maybe
though.
Paul Benjamin does stuff too. I don't know, but
Oh,
you know,
okay.
it's just really just comes down to what you want. You know,
Mhm.
like for some guys, spinning plates till they find the right plate is what's right for them. You know, I don't think there's any right or wrong. You know.
Right, no, and I totally agree with you on that. I think it's important to do that until you kind of find the right person, you know? So I think because, like, again, you're still keeping active and everything,
Mhm.
and keeping fresh, and plus you're taking the time to really get to know someone. But I noticed, like, some women I go out with, they kind of just like they're eager to get into a relationship. You know what I'm saying? They won't do
Uh-huh.
anything, and those are not my type of women to
Yeah,
date.
you'll find that like nobody really wants a needy person, you know. Women especially, because I used to be that guy. I used to be the one that was like really pushing for a relationship out the gate, and what I found was that you know, especially the last time I was on the dating circuit, because after my divorce, I got divorced in like 2014. I was like
Mhm,
fat and out of shape. I hadn't dated in 15 years, and like I just didn't know what I was doing, and like I just floundered on the dating circuit. Right, ended up falling into a relationship for 4.5 years, but during that time, I lost all the weight, got in shape. So when I found myself back on the dating circuit again, it was easy getting dates. It was easy hooking up, but I couldn't keep chicks around longer
mhm,
than 2 or 3 dates. And I figured
right,
out that it was me being needy, you know, me being one trying to lock a girl down, trying to push for a relationship, trying to get a girlfriend. And I found that, you know, if you just sort of let women come to that conclusion on their own, and you know, in a healthy way, right? And you'll find that women that are somewhat mentally stable, they're all at least a number four crazy. We know that, but
mhm,
but
mhm,
if you know a woman that's like kind of got a healthy mindset, they'll usually come to that conclusion by the you know by the seventh or eighth date on average, and they'll be the ones that bring it up, you know. But
mhm.
but yeah, the chicks that are trying to lock you down on the first or second date, those are bad news, man. They're like,
Oh, right. No, I hear you. No, I've had a few like that, actually,
oh
like,
sure,
the end of last year, early this year. And like I was honest with the girl about my intentions too. I told her I'm not looking for anything serious. And then it was funny. I remember I matched with this one girl on Tinder. Okay, we went on a few dates, and I just kind of telling her, I was just open with her about what I told her I'm not looking to rush into anything at the moment. I'm just kind of dating other people, blah blah blah. And she's like, well, I'm not going to do anything. I don't want any casual thing, because I want a real relationship. And then, like, I'm like, okay, great, goodbye. Then 3 weeks later, this girl hits me up, says she changes her mind, and
yeah,
then, like, we're made a plan, and then she changes her mind again. I'm like, goodbye. I
yeah.
don't need the headache.
I always kind of look at stuff like that too, like where women say, you know, I'm not looking for anything serious, or you know, I'm only dating for marriage, or like we're not gonna have sex. I always just sort of look at it like a shit test, you know, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, okay, we'll see. And then like I just never take women at what they say, and I just watch how they watch what they do, you know.
Right, exactly. I know, and the funny thing is I forget that, I forget that they shit test, like, that's the one thing. I'm like, "Was I just shit test?" And that's the like, because 'cause I'm just not aware of that, I have to be more aware of that because sometimes they will do that. Even when they put stuff on the app saying, "I'm not looking for a hookup," I'll still try to go for it.
Oh, they're yeah, they all put that on there. It's the classic anti-slut defense, right? Like, oh, I'm not one of those girls, but they all have the capability of being those girls. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so yeah, I sort of take all that stuff with a grain of salt. I always assume women are shit testing. I think that's just a good rule of thumb for men because they
Mhm,
all do it. All women will shit test you either consciously or subconsciously, you
mhm.
know, and some test more than others, but usually as long as you handle the tests well, they don't test as much, you know. And so yeah, I just assume everything's a shit test, and you'll typically be good to go.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and kind of don't get all caught up in that too. Some guys will get caught up in that, you know. Like I remember sometimes girls would just like flake automatically, and then when you act like you didn't give a fuck, they'd be like, "Oh," then a couple hours later you hear back from them. I'm feeling
Yeah.
better now, you
Yeah,
know.
I learned from so I have like a holy trinity of dating books that I recommend to guys, right? One
Okay,
is like How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne, one is Atomic Attraction by Christopher Canwell, and the other is Dating Essentials for Men by Dr. Robert Glover. And
I got.
in Atomic Attraction, he gives all these case studies and stuff like that. One of the things in there, he talks about this girl who she met these two guys, I don't know, like at a conference or something, and one guy was like Brad and the other guy was named like, Phil. And Phil was just like, hey, give me your number, and then said, hey, it was nice meeting you. And then she didn't fucking hear from him for an entire week. But Brad was just like, good morning, beautiful, and texting her all throughout the day. And, hey, I'm going to the gym and stuff like that. And just giving her a play by play of his whole fucking life in text. And like, he set up a date with her. She's like, yeah, I'll meet you on Friday for a date. Yeah, but she was, the whole time she was wondering what Phil was doing because Phil didn't text her all the time. And then like Friday, all of a sudden Phil shows up and he's like, hey, I just flew back into town. I'd love to meet you for a drink. So she canceled on Brad because she's like, I could go out with Brad anytime. Like he's a sure thing. But this Phil guy, I haven't heard from him in a week. And I know that I need to lock him down now. Right. And so I would learn from that experience that, like women will flake oftentimes because they have a better option or what they perceive as a better option, and then and then sometimes they'll flake last minute. In that book too, he gives a case study of a chick that would like she had a boyfriend that was super needy, and so on the next guy she would cancel to see how he would react to it. And this one guy just didn't respond to a text like that. She was like, I'm sorry, I can't make it. And so he just didn't reply. And so she
Mhm,
started getting up in her head like, oh shit, I might have fucked this up. And then she's like, oh, actually I'm feeling better and stuff. I'll meet you tonight. And he was like, okay, sounds good. Like,
mhm.
so sometimes when a chick's cancel and flake on you, I always say like, no reply is a reply. Just don't, if they don't cancel and give you an alternative time, just don't reply. And a lot of times if it is a shit test, they'll come back around, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Right, exactly. No, and that's yeah, I know I've done that too sometimes. Like I'm not, I remember I used to feel like I had to text the girl all the time, even when I got her number. But then like I just when I got busy, I just couldn't do it all the time. So I just
mhm.
keep it simple, and I think that when you do that, you are making her wonder about you, rather compared to the guy who's just like constantly blowing up her phone all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of guys they get insecure themselves, they get the anxiety and they think that if they don't stay on the forefront of her mind with text and that she'll somehow forget about them, and that it actually works the opposite. She's
Hmm.
thinking about the guy that's not texting her all the time. And it took me a while to learn that cuz I was a needy texter, man. Dude, I'll tell you, I was a needy texter, and what broke me of that habit was playing a concept called mirror game, right? Where you sort of match and mirror a woman's effort. And if I would send a text and then it took her 2 hours to reply, well, then you wait 2 hours and like 20 minutes to reply, and just
Hmm.
match and mirror her effort. And the way you do that is by, instead of immediately replying when she texts, which actually subconsciously comes across as needy to her, you just reach for the timer app instead and say, okay, well, it took you 2 hours. I'm going to reply back in 2 hours and 13 minutes.
Hmm.
Then you put your phone down and go do something. And then what they'll end up doing is just train you to reply to text, a little
Hmm.
more naturally that way and be more on your purpose.
Right. No, I hear you. No, one thing though. So one case that I had. So last night I matched with this girl. Like probably, well, I matched with this girl a while ago, and she finally got back to me like after a month. I don't remember how long it was, but it's been a while. And it was just like she answered my question. She's like, "Well, I prefer talking rather than texting." So, well, I just said, "Well, fuck." My reply is just like, "Shoot your number then." You know.
Hmm.
So I got the number and just shoot the text. Hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Blah blah blah. and then she continued the interaction, and then I asked for a 30 selfie, got the selfie. She wanted one, got the selfie, and then I said, well, hey, we'll touch base tomorrow. I just cut it off there. Like I didn't want to be around on the phone all night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm wondering sometimes. I rather than I don't, and I really do like sometimes want to fucking relax. I just don't want to like be on texting a chick all day because to me it's
Yeah.
like I got other things better to do. But I'll make small time for it.
Yeah, I think that was something too that I had to learn is that texting and phone calls are really for logistics. It's you really want to meet people in person and not be on the phone for 2 hours because she's the love of your life or whatever. It's like keep things short and simple and be like, I'd love to talk to you more. I got things to do, but I'll see you. I'll see you on Tuesday, right? To get the fuck off the phone because the less you're talking on phone and stuff like that, actually the more you have to talk about when you do get in person, and then two, it gives them time to wonder about you, and attraction grows in space.
Right. No, but I had because I'd always do my phone calls, even if I saw the girl, if I went on a date and I contacted her again, I'd always keep my conversations no longer than 20 minutes. And some girls were able to like, I guess they like noticed that I was keeping them a certain time. They're like, how come you can't talk longer? Why is it always, why you got to be in control of it? Because I'm the one in control of my life,
Uh-huh.
But I just thought it was weird that they would like, be aware of that. This like
some chicks can spot the game. I've had that doing the mirror game thing where they could tell, and like you could see that when they start playing it back. Because you're like you waited 2 hours and 13 minutes, and they waited 2 hours and 42 minutes. And you're like, I see what you're doing. Like you're recognizing the game. I did this. I got in this conversation with a chick too, and one thing too I try to do is keep my text bubbles less than them. And so I would sometimes I would count up the words and be like, okay, I got to send a response in like 1 or 2 words less than that. And so I would send a response in 1 or 2 words less. And then I would see her conversation, her next response was 1 or 2 less than that. And I was like, oh, okay, she's spotting the game.
Right. Oh, I hear you. So that's funny, but yeah, it's so weird that they can, But to me, I like it was more for like it wasn't. It's just more of like my time thing. I just had I have a lot going on, so that's only. I mean, I had really another reason why I didn't want to be on the phone because all the time. You know what I'm saying? But it's just so weird that they would like call me out, and this one girl just got so like upset about it. Like I'm like,
yeah. But you know what? Like that kind of stuff, when a chick gets mad at that kind of stuff, it's just like, well, you just know that she's not the right person. Like that's a good way of weeding these chicks out too. It's almost like us shit testing them, right?
Right. No, I hear you. No, and that's true. So, and another thing I noticed too with dating apps, sometimes some girls won't even want to talk. Like I asked for a number, they're like, "Well, I won't get your number out until we meet." But I'm like, "Well, there's a phone on the fucking app. you don't have to get your number." So I kind of am able to weed them out because they give me an excuse for not giving the number. Well, and like for instance, I met a chick, matched with a girl last week, and she's like, she said the same thing to me, and I just went ahead and set up the date. Time and place. So we're going together tomorrow. And then, so I matched with another girl. I just wanted to just kind of mess with it about a bit. So and she said the same thing. And, well, there's a phone app. And so I'm waiting. This is probably, I responded like an hour ago to that. So waiting to hear back on that. So, but I don't know. So, but you know what, though, is they still give you another excuse on top of that. That's a good thing to weed them out.
Well, they like girls that don't give you their number. I mean, they do that because it's easier to ghost you that way. Because on an app like let's say Bumble or Tinder, if they meet you on person, they don't like you, instead of saying, hey, best of luck in your dating, this doesn't work out, like they'll just unmatch you. And then now you have no way of contacting them,
Right.
I mean, they could do the same thing and just block your number if they have to, I guess, on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think, still like I hear a lot of stories though, about guys getting upset, if, and then blowing up their, so it ruins it for us people who have control. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Well, yeah, I mean that like women have been trained by men over the years to not tell us how they really feel, how to be very covert, because some guys just can't handle it. Some guys get all mad and got to hold women accountable and stuff. It's like, bro,
Mm-hmm.
like you're ruining it for everybody by like
They
losing your
blame
temper with
women
these
for their
chicks.
dating problems too.
Right. Right. They just don't have the right, mental attitude about it,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no, so you just have to like understand that that's where women are coming from, and just be like, okay, well, that's why you just, because women will tell you, like, guys get complain all the time too, that women give them mixed signals, right? Oh, these chicks, man, they give us mixed signals. It's like, if you just don't listen to what they say at all and just watch their actions, their message is going to be consistent every time. It won't be mixed at all. It's their actions never lie. So just ignore what they say and watch what they do, and you'll have a better idea, right? Like if you're talking to a chick and she's super nice on the phone and agrees to go out with you but always cancels, that's the message, right? Her actions, she's never actually going out with you. She's not interested. Cut her loose, man. Don't get
Mm-hmm.
mad at it. Just walk on. There's always another woman.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. I mean, and that's how I kind of judge everything, is by the actions.
Yeah.
And that's how I can see, if this is going to pan out or not. I mean, even if I'm on a date, I can calibrate interest too. Some, and I noticed too. I always go in for a first kiss on the first date. And I
My
noticed.
man. Yeah.
And I noticed, like, the ones that I end up kissing, they end up leading to sex or something like that. But the ones that are like, oh, I don't do that, they're nothing happens afterwards.
Have you found with that? Because I recommend that to guys too. Like if you like the girl, always go for a kiss.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
have you found with that though that like a very small number of them are averse to it? Like most of them are into it.
Yeah, they are. They're into it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then some of them aren't. No, I found.
Occasionally, yeah. I mean, occasionally, but it's like I found when I was out dating that it was almost like a 99% like reception rate, like where chicks were just like totally into it. Might not have led to more than 2 or 3 dates, which is fine, but they were into it, right? And
Mhm.
but then there was like just a small percentage of chicks that were like, I think there was two that, like, one chick was just like, whoa, 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 no way. And I was like, okay, just never called her again. No big deal. Didn't get
Mhm.
mad at it and just said, no, okay. All right. And then I had a one chick that I went in and she goes, she still kissed me, but she was like, oh, we're doing this now.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, yeah. And so it kissed her. And then like we did go on a second date. And that second, she right before that second date, she's like, I didn't like that you kissed me on the first date. Like I really have a boundary with that, and I'm trying to, try to be a good girl, and I made a lot of bad decisions in my past, and that's the whole like, rules for betas type thing, and it's like, so I just fucked with her the whole time on the second date. I was just like, so at the end of this day, what do we do? We fist bump? Are we friends? Like, is that what we're doing?
Mhm.
And then I just didn't call her back after that because it was just like it was totally a waste. But yeah, I
Right.
mean, but otherwise, like most chicks, like you'll find too when you kiss them and they like you, like they just melt, like they've been waiting for it the whole date,
Right. Exactly.
and it's just like, okay, cool. And I just look at it as like it's the ultimate test of interest. Because if
Mm.
you're not quite sure, you go in for that kiss, like you'll know,
Mhm.
and then you know if
Right.
you should call her back or not.
Right. One time though, like I just got a half-ass kiss from a girl, like a friendly kiss. But like on the second date, it was more like kissing where she bit the lips and shit like that.
Mm,
So I don't know. Like some people like do have their beliefs and morals that could play. Some women, and do have that, so that can play into that kind of rule. So I always like to say, if they just get a peck, just like a that, I'll give it another chance if I liked her. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And But then like it was weird because after I think I went out with that girl like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, I'm not going to waste my time because like because we always had the whenever I tried to make the initiative to like bring her closer to where I'm at, even on the third date, and after that, I was just like, because we were further away, I'm like, this isn't going to work out.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a 3-date rule?
Yeah, I do the 3 date rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, or sometimes I'll do a second date, depending, But yeah, I do have a three.
Yeah, I that was always the 3rd date was the limit, like if we weren't if I couldn't close it on the 3rd date because she was, putting up the good girl thing and trying to make me wait for marriage or whatever. Uh I was just like, okay, just, this isn't going to work out. And
But
but yeah, it was usually like it was a usually, on the chicks that were receptive, where it was like second or third date on average is or sec
mhm,
yeah, second or third date on average when chicks usually, will eventually put out, you know.
yeah.
I,
Well, what
do you try to close on the first date? Are you one of those guys?
Yeah, I have closed on the first date. It's weird because, like, if I'm really feeling with the girl, I will invite her. Say, let's just go back to my place. Let her know, hey, I got a roommate. Just got to call, making sure he's out of the way when I get in. And the cool
Mhm.
thing is, I just take them directly into the bedroom because I got a little armchair that they can sit in and everything. Got some wine and stuff. If I feel like I have that comfort with them and they're comfortable, you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, no, it's worked. But sometimes though, like this year, I probably brought like 2 or 3 women back that I met on the first day, and like it didn't lead anywhere. Like we were making out and stuff, but like I got the lick on a boob, but like afterwards, okay, this is too soon.
Uh-huh. Yeah, try to follow Dr. Robert Glover's advice, and I never tried like actively tried to close on the first day. I looked at first dates like they were a chemistry test, and it's fine if guys do that if they try to close on the first date. That's cool too. But I would just look at first dates like a chemistry test. I would try to keep it, relatively short, like no more than 2 hours for a date, and then try to end it. And then usually the second or third date was like a done deal. But my current girlfriend, nurse chick,
Mhm.
she and I've been dating for 2 years now. So I did that. We actually met for coffee, and I don't like coffee dates, but she used to be a graveyard shift
Okay.
worker, and so we met for coffee, and I went in for a kiss, and it was one of those situations where she was just like, "Oh, I really like this guy," like,
Yeah,
and
I
so
could tell how she was feeling because your eyes lit up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, "All right, well, I gotta go," and she was supposed to work that night, so I went home, and it was Sunday, it was a WrestleMania Sunday, and I'm like, I'm a big wrestling fan. So I was like, that was my plan for the night, was like go on a date with her, go home, watch pro wrestling, right?
Yeah,
And
can't
she
beat
called
that.
all of a sudden she calls me and she's like, "So they low census me. I don't have to work tonight." And like guys need to understand that when women reach out like that, it's because they want you to invite them over, or they want you to at least set up another date. That's women pursuing you.
Mhm.
And women don't won't typically ask you out. Like you got to recognize that when they're reaching out, that they're putting the ball in your court
That's
to
good.
ask them out.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah.
And so I immediately recognized what she was saying, right? She was like, "I don't have to work tonight." And so I was like, "Oh, well, I'm watching wrestling. You're welcome to come over to my house and join me." And I knew that if she was going to come over here to watch fucking wrestling, that it was on, I knew
Yeah,
it was.
right?
So
The
she did.
world fucking champ, man, WrestleMania.
So
But yeah,
she drove, and she lives an hour from me. So I was like, if she's
uh-huh.
driving 2 hours round trip to come see me and watch wrestling, like there, there's something, it's a done deal,
Right. No, I hear you on that. No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
she likes to she'll die on the hill that it was technically the second date because it was a second venue, and like hours later, but it was the same day.
That's something to consider. I know my mentor always taught me though, always try to, if you want to, always try to close on the first day because you might never see that girl again. So you might as well just like, do it
Who
while strike while the iron is hot. So
who's your mentor?
oh, this is this guy, Eddie. He's with Conquer and Win. He's in Vancouver.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
if and I also well, I talked to Afi, but Eddie taught me like the day game stuff and everything. And well, he taught, and he just said, like, you should always try to seal the deal on the first date because you might never see him again, which is kind of true. I mean, I had somewhere I seal the deal and I haven't seen him again. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any like one size fits all. So I never tell guys like you should always do something. And I've had so many like dating coaches on that all have different philosophies. I finally came to the conclusion that there's more than one way to skin a cat, and if that works for you, then do what works for you. There's no
mhm,
reason to fucking change it. So I think that's great. That's
right.
awesome.
It doesn't work all the time, but
Does anything ever work all the time? I don't think
I
anything ever
wish it
works all
did,
the
right?
time.
I'm glad, honestly, dude, like I cherish when I get flaked on or things that, I'll have like go through a downturn with the dating and stuff.
Yeah.
And I cherish those memories. I cherish that a lot because when I have an up like a spike, it's like have weeks where I have 3 or 4 dates a week. And
Yeah.
right now, like I got a lot going on. So like it's weird because I'm focused. I told you I got this new job and this contracting job that can turn into a big job, and I'm kind of more focused on that. So I've been, I've been putting in like 11-hour days, Wednesday through Fridays, and on top of that, I can work on this contracting job from home. So right now, it's just like I don't like. I'm more focused on that, and I'm not really 100% focused on talking, to a lot of girls and getting a lot of dates. So like
Mhm.
I'm just trying the super direct approach when I match with girls,
Yeah.
and whatever happens, happens. Because I really don't have the time to just for at least until the middle of June to be going out a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Have you ever read the book Fuck Files by Ryan Stone?
No, is it a good one? I haven't heard. I
Oh,
know who Ryan
dude, it's
Stone
a great
is.
book. Yeah. So, Ryan has I'm reading this one now. This is his second book,
Okay.
and Ryan's a good guy. He's one of the Rule Zero panelists,
Yeah,
and
I know Ryan. Yep.
Ryan's book Fuck Files, his first book. It's a lot of it's about his time in the Navy, and he was in a position. I used to be in the Navy too. But I didn't have
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
yeah, I was in the Navy for 4 years back in the day. But Ryan's experience in the Canadian Navy was different than mine because he was gone way more than I was gone. Like we would go in the US Navy, we would go for workups where we would be out for a week and then for the weekend for maybe a couple months, and then we go on a deployment for 6 months, but then we would be back for like a year, a year and a half or so. And so we would be in port quite a bit. But he was like, he was saying how he was gone just constantly. And so he ended up realizing that like he couldn't have a steady girlfriend because no chicks would tolerate him being gone for so long and so much. So he learned pickup so that he could, when he did go out, when he was in town, he could close quickly and get what he needed and then go back to the ship and then go underway. So that's
Right.
what that whole book's about. It's actually pretty funny.
Oh, wow, that does sound like it. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Uh, but uh, but yeah, man, like, the funny thing is when you talk about that, like when chicks like cancel and like all your plates fall off, that
Mhm.
happens to everybody. And so many guys like they get so frustrated with things. That's where they start beating themselves up. They start going into depression. That's why they hate dating. That's why they go MGTOW. And
Mhm.
it's like they don't realize that even like the best of us, that happens to us. Like we'll go
Mhm.
through dry spells. It's just a part of
Yeah.
the game. And
Yeah, it's
it
true, man.
my very first podcast episode, it's titled "She Canceled on Me," right? Because I had a date lined up and this chick canceled on me, and I was already planning on starting the podcast anyway. And I go, well, fuck, I don't have anything else to do tonight. I guess I'll record my first episode. And so that
There
was
you
my
go, right?
very first episode of the podcast was a chick canceling on me.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. No, but that's true. Like, you're gonna go through like I have my moments like where I'm going through my dry spells and stuff where I'm like, well, great, none of my normal routines aren't working anymore. And I get frustrated, but I have to remind myself that I've been through this before.
Yeah.
And you can't blame women for that, guys. It takes good self-awareness and when
Yeah.
you have experience to realize that it's not the end. But no, it does get frustrating. I'm not gonna lie, but you just have to just be able to, like I said, have that awareness and say, like I said, gratitude that you've had that before. And I mean, I kind of use it as a time too to focus more on me too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To, so I'm better for them when I happen my next round of good luck.
Yeah, it also it helps to put yourself in a woman's shoes, because women, like, and a lot of people like complain about dating apps this way. They're like, well, women, they have so many more options, and it's the top, the 80% of women are going for the top 20% of guys or whatever. It's like, get rid of dating apps, go to a bar, and look at the ratio. There's going to be about the same ratio at a bar too. I was at a bar with the nurse chick, man, a couple months ago. We were hanging out,
Okay.
and it was like almost like a complete sausage fest in there, right? Like there was like all these dudes in there, and then like a handful of chicks, and all the chicks were getting all the attention from all the guys. It's like that's just how life is, right? Women have an absolute abundance that we just don't have as men. They have way more options, and so when chicks are flaky, it's like, yeah, you would be too if you had the amount of, like, if chicks were just constantly sending boob pics to you all the time and you had your fucking choice.
Right.
Right? Like, you would always go for your best option. You would probably be canceling on more chicks, right? So you have to sort of
Oh,
understand that's where women come from.
when I have my spikes, though, I cancel on chicks, or I don't get back to certain people, or I don't respond to certain people because I already
Yeah.
talked to people. I don't have the time. No, so yeah, I can put, yeah, you just kind of realize, okay, well, that's how it is for a woman too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's interesting. I like that analogy.
yeah, so it really helps guys. That's another reason why spinning plates is the most efficient way to date, because you're basically dating like a woman does. You're building up that abundance. So if one chick cancels on you, well, so what? I'm talking to these other three chicks.
Mhm,
It's right. It's less of an attachment to outcome because you have so much abundance in your life. And
mhm,
really, that's what it comes down to. That's why guys get so frustrated, is because they get really attached to an outcome of some sort.
mhm, right.
And if you let go of that attachment, you'll find that, like, the dating experience, even when chicks cancel on you, it's like, it's so what, because you've let go of that attachment.
Right, exactly, and I think, well, it's that's why it's important too to have, like, be talking to multiple girls, but also I think it's also important to be have goals and for yourself that you could be working on. Because, I mean, when you have some big shit that you're working on, like your podcast, like my podcast,
Hmm.
and like business and stuff, like, hey, that shit isn't going to bother you as much, when you
Yeah.
get played upon.
Yeah, and that honestly, that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, was because I was dating, and it gave me a purpose outside of women. And I was
Mhm.
like, I can talk to other dudes, we can swap notes, and it gives me something to do. Like, if a chick cancels, it's like, great, I have videos I got to edit.
Mhm.
I got stuff I could be working on. I got other things to occupy my time. And a chick is nice, it's nice to have, but it's not the thing I focus on anymore.
Right, exactly. No, that's true. Yeah, and that's good to really, have is just like other focus in your life. I know I say this a lot in all the podcasts, but like it's important because I've always found that to be helpful. Not only because it's like, it's helping you grow, but I mean it's just going to help when you're going out there, and when you're dealing with all that frustration with women and dating. That when you have something other shit that you're focusing on, I mean, which could be frustrating too, but it kind of you're able to take that break and put that energy into something else instead of
Yeah.
just women.
Yeah. 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 And then when things do get frustrating, because they will, even for guys that teach this stuff and that had a lot of success in dating. Like you said, like, we go through dry spells. You'll go through periods where all your plates fall off, and then it's all about, sometimes it's just healthy to take a break from it too. Be like, you know what,
Mhm,
I'm just going to take a couple weeks off from the
mhm.
dating apps. I'm gonna delete them from my phone and just focus on other stuff, and then get your mind right again, and then get back into it. That's just the best way to do it.
Right, exactly. Cool. Well, hey, man, I'm gonna have to get going because I gotta go use the bathroom. So we
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
head out the session. But yeah, so how would you want to sum up this conversation?
Oh, do we blame the whammon? No, I think, take accountability, learn better dating techniques, learn better dating strategies, date a little more intentionally, and have some, just hold yourself accountable. You can't change the women, You can only change yourself. So learn to be a better dater. That's
Right.
what I would
I
say.
like that. That's so true. Like I think that we have to, as guys, have to be aware of, instead of just making women, blaming women for the problem, we got to be aware of the stuff that we're doing that's causing the problem. And like I think we just don't want to blame, other people, because we're just easier, and plus it's an ego thing. You know what I'm saying?
It is. It's absolutely ego investment. Yeah.
Mhm. No, I even have a friend though. Like he blames his lack of success with women because he claims that like women won't date him because he doesn't make a lot of money. He needs to have a house.
That's a cope, man. That's such a cope. That's
Yeah.
why I try to teach men how to attract women without money.
Mhm.
I had some guy arguing with me on Instagram just today actually, and he's like, "Well,
Was this a
why?"
live show that you're arguing on,
No,
or?
no, no. This is just in the comments, and he's just like,
Oh,
"Well, why are you telling guys that money is not important?" And I was like, "He's like, wouldn't you think it would be better to teach men like to make more money because it's a leverage thing?" And I go, "No, because I go, what I'm trying to teach men is how to attract women that like them for them and not their money, because even though that could work, you could get more women with more money. You'll also attract a shitload of gold diggers.
Mhm.
Ask me how I know. My ex-wife.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
So I tend to try to teach guys like how to date in a way that, you're not leading with your wallet. You're leading with all these other things so that women get invested in you. And then, it's one of those things where discovery trumps disclosure, right? Wouldn't it be better for a woman to discover later, like, oh shit, this guy's loaded, but she's already invested in you, than it is to like lead with your money and go and her just be attracted to your money and what you can provide.
Yeah, I rather her
What's better?
discover that, but a lot of guys think that that's what but yeah, but a lot of guys think, guys do think that they gotta leave with their wall and stuff. But yeah, they're gonna, like the law of attraction, they're gonna attract the wrong type of women into their lives.
Yeah,
And that's why the
exactly.
law of attraction is very important. No, I like that. That's yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's Dr. Glover, and I learned this from Dr. Glover. Really, it's that all that stuff like women only like me for my money is a self-limiting belief. It's in your head. That's not accurate.
right.
Women
No,
do like money, don't get me wrong, but who doesn't like money? But you don't you'll attract better women if you don't lead with your wallet.
well, I think where that stems from too is your upbringing, because my dad always like said this, like even to his brother, it's like no girl's gonna want to be with you if you don't have a job or anything, or if you don't have this amount of money. You can't get a girl like that unless you have that. I think that's like upbringing too. People hear that and they think it's the truth, and then
Yeah.
but then like the media enforces that too.
Yeah. Well, I just put out a TikTok video. It was actually a clip from a stream I did on Wednesday
Hmm.
where I talked about when I first met my wife. I was broke. I was broke, man. I was a sailor, and so I was junior enlisted. I was like an E3. When you're junior enlisted, you have no money, dude. They don't pay you for shit.
Hmm.
And so I convinced her to come to San Diego. She lived in Colorado. I convinced her to fly all the way out to San Diego, and then I couldn't afford to take her anywhere. So I said, "Hey, why don't you come on the ship?" And we went through the chow line on the ship and then ate in the mess decks. And she
Hmm.
thought it was the greatest experience ever. Oh, look at that. But I did it because I was broke as fuck. Right. Like, and she ended up being my wife. Right. Like, you don't need money. You
Yeah.
just have to be creative.
Yeah, right. It makes it easier on you. Yeah, when the girl kind of digs your personality and everything.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let people know where they can find you on Instagram and on YouTube. Like, give them your
Yeah,
that's
so right here, you can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Come On Man Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Come On Man Pod. And you can find me on TikTok at Come On Man Pod too, but that account's totally shadow banned. So on TikTok, follow me on at Best Men's Pod. And otherwise, yeah, man, like you'll see me around. I'm
rock on, buddy. Well, hey,
I'm out there.
thank you very much for coming on the show, and definitely looking forward to having you on again. I'm thinking maybe sometimes you're late June, early July. Let's make something happen again.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Yeah,
Well,
just
rock on.
just ping me.
Will do. Always a blast, man. You have a lot. You have a lot of great things to say, and I have a lot of great things to say. I like the vibe of the conversation. Always kicks ass.
Good stuff, man.
Well, okay, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. For all the people who will catch the replay, and remember to catch it to Come On Man podcast. Go check them out on Instagram, TikTok, and all those other socials. And if you like the video, be sure to share it. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to the channel. Until next time, rock on and command your fucking confidence. Peace. Okay.